The night on the small alien outpost was quiet. The stars outside looked like silver dust scattered across the black ocean of space. Inside the control room, only one person was awake. Her name was Lyra, a young alien girl who worked as a trainee radar operator. Most of the time, her job was boring. The screens showed nothing but empty skies, faint signals from nearby moons, and the slow pulse of the station's heartbeat. But tonight was different. Lyra leaned forward when a strange blip appeared on her radar screen. At first, she thought it was a glitch. The signal was small but strong, coming from far away. She adjusted the scanner, cleared the static, and waited. The blip came back again, steady, real. Her heart began to race. Strange, she whispered to herself. This is not one of ours. Her people had hundreds of ships in the region. Cargo ships, patrol ships, and mining freighters. Lyra had memorized their patterns. But this one did not match. The shape, the movement, the energy signature, everything was wrong. It was too fast for an old freighter, too large for a scout ship, and too quiet for a warship. Her fingers shook as she tapped the console, pulling up the ship's outline from the radar data. When the form appeared on the glowing screen, Lyra's eyes widened. It was long, with wide wings stretched like arms, not smooth like alien craft, but built with sharp edges, hard lines, and a design she had only seen in forbidden books. Her breath caught in her throat. It looks human, she whispered. For a moment she froze in her chair. The word itself felt dangerous. Humans were not supposed to be real. To her people, they were only old stories, ancient tales whispered to children. The elders called them myths, beings who had once walked among the stars, bold and fearless, but who vanished long ago. Many said they were never real at all, only legends created to inspire bravery. But the image on her radar told her otherwise. The signal pulsed again. The ship was moving closer, slowly, almost carefully, as if it knew it was being watched. Lyra's hands hovered over the alarm switch. If she pressed it, the whole station would wake. Soldiers, commanders, and even the governor would rush to the control room. But she hesitated. If she told them too soon, they would laugh at her, or worse, accuse her of dreaming. So she sat there in silence, watching the radar. The minutes passed like hours. Every second, the blip grew stronger. She could almost feel the presence of the ship, like a shadow approaching from across the galaxy. Her mind raced back to the myths she had heard as a child. Stories of humans who built ships without fear, stories of their strange courage, their will to fight even when outnumbered, their promise never to bow. The elders told those tales to make children proud, then always added, "But do not believe. Humans are gone. If they ever lived, they are dust now." But the radar said otherwise. Suddenly the console beeped again. A faint trace of communication came through. It was weak, broken, almost like static, but it was there. Lyra leaned close, her ears twitching, her heart hammering. She turned the dial to clear the noise. The sound grew sharper. It wasn't her language. It wasn't any alien dialect she had studied. But there was rhythm. There was meaning. Someone out there was speaking. "Impossible," she whispered. The words on the radar screen shifted, trying to translate. Half-finished symbols appeared. Man, shim. Her whole body went cold. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt truly afraid. If this was real, then everything her people believed was about to change. If humans were alive, if they were really here, then the galaxy was not as they had been told. The balance of power, the safety of her world, even her own life, everything would be shaken. She stood up from her chair, pacing in the small room. Should she report it? Should she keep it secret? If she told the truth, the station might destroy the ship before anyone could speak to it. But if she stayed silent, she might lose the only chance to prove the myths were true. The radar beeped again. Louder this time, closer. Lyra rushed back to her seat. She stared at the glowing outline on the screen, her breath fast and shallow. The human ship was real, and it was here. Her trembling hand hovered above the transmitter. Just one push and she could send a message. She could be the first in 1,000 years to speak to a human. But the thought terrified her. What if they were dangerous? What if the elders were right to fear them? The silence of the room felt heavy, broken only by the slow pulse of the radar. The ship kept moving closer as if waiting. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again. Her choice was clear. She leaned forward, lips trembling, and whispered to the stars, "If you are real, hear me." Her finger pressed the transmitter. The radar blinked, sending out her small signal into the endless dark. The myth was no longer a story. The myth was alive. The control room felt colder after Lyra sent the signal. She stared at the blinking radar, waiting for a reply, but only silence returned. Her small message had gone out into the endless dark, and now she could do nothing but hope or fear what might answer. Her people had always spoken about humans, but never with respect. The elders called them dangerous wanderers. Teachers in her academy laughed whenever the subject came up, saying, "Children, humans are bedtime tales. Brave fools who thought they could rule the stars. Their stories exist only to warn us about pride." But Lyra had never stopped wondering. As a child, she had stolen books from the archives. They were old, dusty volumes written before the government banned human history. The pages showed sketches of strange ships with wings, helmets with glass visors, and faces so different from her kind, yet strangely noble. The words had described their spirit. Humans never gave up. Even when they were broken, even when they were alone, they fought harder than anyone else. The elders called those books dangerous lies. Anyone caught reading them risked punishment. But the stories had stayed in Lyra's mind. And now, with the radar blinking proof before her eyes, the so-called lies felt more like warnings. She could almost hear her old teacher's voice. "Forget humans. They are not real. They never were. If you believe in them, you waste your future." But how could she forget now? The radar beeped again. The signal was steady, like a heartbeat. The human ship was still out there, silent, watching. Her hands shook as she pulled a small charm from her pocket, a scrap of paper she had hidden for years. On it was a rough drawing of a human starship, copied from the forbidden book. The design matched the image glowing on her radar. The same long wings, the same sharp lines. Her throat went dry. It's the same. It's real. A noise broke her thoughts. The door behind her hissed open. Lyra quickly shoved the paper back into her pocket and straightened her uniform. It was her supervisor, Commander Relic, tall and strict, his eyes narrow like blades. "Why are you still here, trainee?" His voice was sharp. "Your shift ended an hour ago." Lyra's mouth went dry. If he looked at her console, he would see the radar. He would see the signal. "The human ship, I was just checking for interference," she stammered. Strange echoes in the system. Nothing serious. Relic stepped closer, his boots heavy on the floor. He glanced at the console, but before the signal pulsed again, Lyra quickly tapped a key and dimmed the screen. The blip vanished into static. "Echoes?" Relic muttered, frowning. "Do not waste time with ghosts. Myths and shadows have no place here. Finish your duty and rest." "Yes, Commander," Lyra said softly, her heart pounding. He stared at her for a long moment, then turned and left. The door hissed shut. Only when the room was silent again did Lyra exhale. She wiped sweat from her forehead and pulled the radar back online. The signal returned instantly. The human ship had not moved far. Her chest ached with the weight of choice. If she reported this, the commanders would order the guns ready. The humans would be destroyed, their ship wiped away, and the myth buried forever. But if she stayed silent, she would stand alone against her people's will. The myths had always painted humans as dangerous, but also as protectors. One story she remembered told of a human who saved an entire alien colony by refusing to run, even when his own life was lost. She had read it 100 times, wondering, why would anyone risk so much for strangers? She touched the console gently, as if the blinking light could hear her thoughts. "Are you really like the stories?" she whispered. "Or are you something worse?" Her stomach twisted. She knew what the government would say. Destroy it. They feared the unknown. They wanted control. Myths threatened their power. But Lyra was not like them. For years she had lived with questions, with curiosity that burned inside her. And now, for the first time, she had a chance to find the truth. The radar beeped again, stronger, closer. Then, without warning, her console flickered. A faint voice, broken and strange, spilled from the speakers. The words were heavy with static, but she could almost understand them. "This is human vessel. Identify yourself." Her whole body froze. The myths were speaking to her. The ghosts of history were alive. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She had waited her whole life for proof, but now that it was here, she was terrified. She looked around the empty control room. She was alone, and yet she was not. The voice came again, clearer this time, filled with strength. "We are human." "Who are you?" Her hands trembled above the transmitter. Her people had taught her to fear this moment. The elders had forbidden it. The myths had warned against it. But her heart knew the truth. If she did not answer now, the chance might be lost forever. She closed her eyes, whispered a silent prayer, and pressed the button. "My name is Lyra," she said, her voice breaking, "and I believe in you." The radar glowed brighter as if the stars themselves had answered. The myth was no longer forbidden. The myth was alive. The voice still echoed in Lyra's ears long after the signal faded. "We are human. Who are you?" Her body trembled as she sat in the silent control room. For years she had dreamed of hearing those words, but the reality was heavier than she imagined. It was not a myth anymore. It was not an old story told by careless voices. It was alive, breathing, speaking to her. She had given her name. She had crossed a line her people would never forgive. The radar beeped softly, showing the human ship moving closer. It was still far, but no longer hiding. Slowly, carefully, it adjusted its path until it floated just outside the sensor's range, as if testing her patience. Lyra could not sit still. Her chest felt too small for the storm inside. She needed to see them, not only hear. She needed proof with her own eyes. Her gaze fell to the window at the far side of the room. Beyond it lay the deep black of space. Stars shimmered like frozen fire, but her eyes were searching for something else, something impossible. Then, as if the universe had heard her wish, she saw it. At first, it was just a shadow sliding against the backdrop of stars. But then the ship revealed itself, a massive structure with wings stretched wide like arms reaching out to the void. Its body was not smooth and elegant like alien ships, but sharp, rugged, and full of scars. Panels glinted faintly under the starlight, edges worn but proud. Her heart stopped. That's human. The sight was nothing like she had imagined. It was not graceful, not beautiful by alien standards. But there was something in it, something strong, unshaken, alive. It looked like a survivor, a traveler that had fought storms and wars yet refused to die. Her hands pressed against the glass. The ship's lights blinked slowly like eyes watching her from afar. For a moment, the silence of the galaxy felt holy. Then the console buzzed again. A faint transmission came through, still broken but more steady this time. "Identify. Station. Are you hostile?" Lyra's throat tightened. They feared her. These humans, these legends, were asking if she meant harm. "No," she whispered even before pressing the transmitter. Her voice cracked, but she forced strength into it. "No, I am not hostile. I am alone. She paused, heart pounding. "I believe in you." The reply did not come at once. She waited, each second stretching into eternity. Then the speakers came alive again, and this time the words were clearer. "We see you. You are not enemy. You are first friend." Tears stung her eyes. She had not cried since she was a child, but now they flowed freely. First friend. That was what they called her. A stranger, a trainee, a forgotten girl at the edge of her world, and yet to them, she was something precious. The myths had always painted humans as bold, but she had never expected kindness. But joy quickly twisted into fear. The console flickered with another signal, this one from her own people. A coded transmission from the governor's office marked urgent. They had detected the foreign ship too. Her blood ran cold as she read the message. Unknown craft identified. Do not engage. Hold position until military arrives. Prepare for destruction order. Lyra's hands shook so hard she almost dropped the device. They wanted to kill the humans. They didn't care what the ship was. They didn't care if the myths were true. To them it was only a threat. She looked out the window again. The human ship floated silently, unaware of the danger approaching. Its scars told the story of long battles. It had survived so much only to arrive here at the edge of another war. Her heart screamed against the thought. She could not let it happen. Not like this. Not when she had just found them. The radar blinked again. The human ship sent one last message. Are we safe? Lyra pressed her hands to her face, shaking. She wanted to answer yes. She wanted to promise safety. But she knew the truth. Her world was preparing to strike. She looked at the transmitter, her reflection faint in its metal surface. Her eyes were wide, full of fear and determination. No, she whispered to herself. You are not safe. Not yet. She reached for the control panel of the scout bay. Her heart raced. If she could launch a small craft, she could warn them, guide them away before the soldiers arrived. It was dangerous. It was treason, but it was the only choice her heart could accept. Her fingers flew across the keys, unlocking the bay doors in secret. Alarms stayed quiet. She knew how to silence them. Training had taught her rules. Curiosity had taught her how to break them. As the small scout ship powered up, she glanced one last time at the human vessel outside. "This is real," she whispered. "The myth is real, and I will not let it die again." The scout's engines roared softly and the hangar doors began to open. The stars spilled in, endless and bright. Lyra's journey had begun. Not as a soldier, not as a traitor, but as the first friend of humans in 1,000 years. And somewhere beyond the dark, the human ship waited for her answer. The scout ship slipped out of the hangar like a shadow escaping its cage. Lyra gripped the controls tightly, her hands trembling, her pulse racing in her throat. Behind her, the outpost shrank into the distance, silent but deadly. At any moment, alarms could rise. At any moment, the military ships could arrive. But ahead, the human vessel floated in the black sea of stars. It was closer now, clearer than before. Lights glowed faintly along its frame, scars marking its surface like old wounds. It looked alive, tired but alive. Her console blinked again. A faint voice reached her ears. "Unknown craft. Identify." Friend or foe? Her throat went dry. This was the moment. If she spoke wrong, if she hesitated, they might see her as a threat. And if her own people caught her speaking to them, she would be branded a traitor. She pressed the transmitter, her voice shaky but firm. "I am Lyra. I am not enemy. I want to help." For a few seconds, only static answered. Then the voice returned, clearer this time, with a strange accent. "Lyra, you speak truth? You believe in us?" Her chest ached. They had heard her. They remembered her first words. "Yes," she whispered, tears stinging her eyes. "I believe in you. You are real." Silence again. Then suddenly the ship's lights brightened, blinking in a pattern. Her scanner translated the signal. Safe approach granted. Her breath caught. They were opening their arms to her, but even as hope bloomed, danger followed. Her console flashed with a new warning. Her people had launched interceptors. Small, fast attack craft were on their way. The countdown showed only minutes before they reached the human vessel. Lyra's heart thundered. She leaned into the transmitter. "Listen to me. My people, they are coming to destroy you. You must leave now." The reply came after a long pause, heavy and calm. "We have heard this before. Many wanted us gone. But why should we trust you?" The question cut deep. Why should they trust her? She was just one alien girl, a stranger, unproven. Her own people would call her a liar. Her hands trembled, but her voice grew stronger. "Because I am risking everything. I left my station. I stole this craft. If they catch me, I am dead. But still I came. For you." For a moment, the only sound was her own breathing. Then softly, the human voice returned. "Courage, yes, you're like the stories." Her heart swelled. They knew the old tales too. They remembered. Suddenly, the ship before her shifted. A massive hatch opened along its side, glowing with pale light. Her scanner read the signal again. "Dock if you dare." Her breath hitched. They were inviting her in. The choice was hers, but her fear screamed at her. Entering the human ship meant no return. If she docked, she could never go home. She would be hunted forever, and yet, if she refused, the humans would be destroyed within minutes. The outpost message replayed in her mind. "Prepare for destruction order." Her choice was no choice at all. She pushed the throttle forward, guiding her scout ship toward the open bay. The docking clamps aligned, the lights guiding her inside. As her craft entered the human vessel, the stars vanished behind her, replaced by the cold steel walls of legend. The bay doors sealed shut, and silence filled the air. Her engines powered down. Her heart raced faster than ever. Then, with a hiss, the cockpit hatch opened. Lyra froze. She could hear footsteps approaching, slow, heavy, unlike any alien she had ever known. A tall figure stepped into view, outlined by the bay's faint light. His body was covered in strange armor, scratched but strong. A helmet hid his face, but his presence filled the air with power. For a long moment, neither moved. Lyra's breath caught. She was standing face to face with a myth. The figure raised a hand slowly, not in threat but in greeting. A voice deep and steady came through the helmet. "You are not enemy. You came alone. Why?" Her legs shook, but she forced herself to stand tall. Because I could not watch you die. I had to see you with my own eyes. I had to know the stories were true. The man tilted his head slightly, studying her. Then he reached up and unsealed his helmet. For the first time, Lyra saw the face of a human. It was strange, different from her kind, yet somehow familiar. The eyes burned with quiet strength, the mouth set firm but gentle. He looked scarred, weary, but alive in a way that no alien ever seemed to be. Lyra gasped, tears slipping down her cheeks. "You are real," she whispered. "You are truly real." The human nodded slowly. "Yes, and now, because of you, we live." But the moment of peace did not last. Her scanner blared a final warning. Enemy interceptors were seconds away. The human's eyes narrowed. Then the risk begins. The docking bay trembled as the first distant shockwaves echoed through space. The human man, tall, scarred, and steady, looked past Lyra, his jaw tightening. He did not need her translator to know what was coming. Enemy ships. Death was only moments away. But before the battle began, silence ruled the bay. Lyra stood frozen, staring at the human's face. She had dreamed of this moment since childhood, but reality felt sharper, heavier. He was not a flawless hero from the old myths. He was tired, scarred, and burdened by years of survival, yet that only made him more real. "My people are coming," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They will destroy you. They have already given the order." The man studied her closely, as if weighing every word. Then he spoke, his voice rough but calm. "Why tell us this? You could have stayed silent. You could have lived safely." Her throat tightened. "Because I couldn't watch them erase you. The stories, they were all I had. And now I know they're true. I won't let them bury the truth again." For a moment, the man's hard eyes softened. He touched a small device on his wrist, speaking into it. The translator hummed, and more footsteps echoed in the bay. Two other humans appeared, one a woman with sharp eyes, the other an older man with silver in his beard. Both wore the same scarred armor, both carried the same weight of long journeys. The woman frowned at Lyra, her hand hovering near a weapon. "Why bring her in? She could be a spy." The older man shook his head. "No, look at her eyes. Fear, yes, but not lies." Lyra felt her chest ache. She had never expected trust, but even suspicion was better than silence. She stepped forward, desperate. "Please, listen to me. My people are afraid of you. They believe if humans return, they will lose control. They will kill first, ask nothing. You must leave now. Escape before the fleet arrives." The younger human woman looked unconvinced. "Running will not save us forever. They will hunt us," the older man sighed. "But the girl is right. If the fleet arrives, we will not last." The first human, the one who had removed his helmet, remained silent, his gaze fixed on Lyra. Finally, he asked, "What do you want, Lyra? You saved us, but why? What do you want in return?" Her heart hammered. She had not thought of reward. She had only followed her heart. Still, she knew the answer. "I want the truth," she whispered. "I want to know what really happened to you. Why you vanished. Why the myths were silenced." The humans exchanged glances. Pain flickered across their faces as if the question was heavier than any weapon. Before they could answer, alarms blared inside the ship. A voice crackled through the speakers. "Multiple hostiles detected. Interceptors incoming. Time to contact, 40 seconds." The woman drew her weapon. The older man rushed to the control station. The leader placed his helmet back on, his face vanishing behind steel. Lyra's blood went cold. She had not wanted this. She had wanted peace, truth, friendship. Instead, her warning had come too late. The human leader turned to her, his voice steady even as the ship shook under distant fire. "You wanted the truth. Here it is. We never left. We survived hiding in the dark. We waited for the right time to return. And now?" He glanced at the ceiling, at the invisible enemy above. "Your people may decide that time for us." Her stomach twisted. He was right. By bringing her warning, she had also brought their hunters. "Let me help," she begged, stepping closer. "I know their tactics. I know their signals. I can guide you out," the human woman scoffed. "And what if you betray us once we trust you?" Lyra's eyes burned with tears. "Then shoot me now. But if you let me help, I can save you." The leader studied her, silent for a moment. Then slowly he nodded. "Very well, Lyra. Show us your courage." Her hands flew to the console, her fingers moving faster than her fear. She rerouted the radar feed from her scout ship into their systems. Enemy markers lit the screen, sharp, deadly red. "There," she said quickly. "They will try to box you in. But their left flank is weak. If you cut engines, drift here, then burst forward, you can break their circle before it closes." The human crew stared at the display. The older man raised an eyebrow. "She knows her stuff." The leader gave a single command. "Do it." The engines roared, the ship shuddered, and the stars outside twisted as they moved. The interceptors were closing fast, their weapons glowing like angry eyes. Lyra clutched the edge of the console, her breath locked in her chest. This was it, the test of trust. If she was wrong, they would all die. If she was right, the humans would live. And the myth would rise again. The warning she had given was more than just words. It was now their only hope. The ship groaned as the engines flared to life. Lyra felt the vibration run through the floor, deep and heavy like the heartbeat of a giant. Outside, the stars twisted as the human vessel turned sharply, following her directions. On the radar, red dots swarmed like angry insects. The alien interceptors were spreading out, trying to trap them in a circle of death. Their sleek frames cut through space with precision, glowing with sharp energy lines. They were fast, too fast. "Enemy closing in," the older human man muttered, his voice calm but tight. The human woman's eyes narrowed. "They'll fire in 20 seconds. Lyra swallowed hard. Her whole body trembled, but her mind burned with focus. "Cut engines now. Drift left there into the dead zone. They can't read you if you fall into their scanner blind spot." The leader gave a sharp nod. "Do it." The engines cut. Silence filled the ship, heavy and suffocating. The vessel drifted like a ghost through the void. To the enemy, it would look like a damaged craft, slowing, weak, helpless. Lyra's nails dug into her palm. "Please work, please." The interceptors streaked closer, red lights blinking. For a terrifying moment, one ship aligned directly at them, its weapons glowing bright. But then it veered away, passing by, fooled by the silence. The others followed, tightening their circle too soon. "They think we're trapped," the older man whispered. The leader's voice cut through the air. "Engines, full thrust, now." The human ship roared alive, breaking the silence with thunder. The sudden burst threw everyone back in their seats. Lyra gasped as stars became streaks. The vessel surged forward, slipping through the half-closed circle before the interceptors could react. Explosions flashed behind them as the enemy scrambled to adjust. "We broke through," the woman shouted, her voice fierce with triumph. Lyra let out the breath she didn't know she was holding. Relief crashed through her body, but it was sharp and fragile. The danger was not over. The radar still pulsed with red. The interceptors were chasing now, furious, their engines burning bright as they pursued. "They won't stop," Lyra said softly, staring at the screen. "They will hunt you until you are gone." The leader turned toward her, his helmet catching the dim light. "And what about you? If they learn you helped us, they'll hunt you too." Her throat tightened. The truth was heavy, but she didn't look away. "Then let them. I made my choice." For a moment, the man said nothing. Then, with quiet respect, he nodded. The older man at the console cursed under his breath. "Their long-range cruisers will launch soon. If we don't hide, we'll be torn apart." Lyra leaned forward, pointing to the screen. "There, asteroid field 12 degrees north. Dense rocks, magnetic interference. Perfect cover." The human woman frowned. "That's suicide. One wrong move and we'll shatter on the rocks." Lyra met her gaze, her voice steady. "Then trust me. I grew up mapping those fields. I know the safe paths." The bay went silent. Every eye turned to the leader. He studied Lyra for a long moment, then gave the smallest nod. "Set course for the field." The engines howled again. Outside, jagged shapes began to appear, massive stones drifting through the black, glowing faintly from old minerals. Some were as small as houses, others as large as cities. They spun slowly, colliding, grinding against each other. It was a graveyard of stone and silence. The human ship slipped inside. Shadows swallowed them whole. The enemy interceptors followed, but not all of them. One struck a rock too hard and burst into fire. Another lost its wing in a collision. The rest slowed, more careful, more cautious. "Your path?" the leader asked. Lyra's eyes scanned the shifting map. Her hands moved across the console with skill born from long nights of lonely work. "Follow me. Keep steady. Do not rush." The ship moved left, right, weaving through impossible gaps. Rocks brushed past so close that sparks lit the windows. The humans tensed, gripping their chairs, but Lyra's voice stayed calm. "Wait, now thrust forward." The ship shot through a narrow opening just before two giant boulders slammed together, sealing the path. The interceptors tried to follow, but too late. The rocks crushed one, shattered another, and scattered the rest. Silence fell again, broken only by the hum of their engines. The radar cleared. No red dots. They're gone, the older man whispered, his voice full of awe. The woman shook her head slowly. We would never have made it without her. The leader's helmet turned toward Lyra. His voice was low but filled with something new, something like respect. You gave us escape. For that we owe you more than thanks. Lyra's chest rose and fell, her eyes wet with tears. She had betrayed her people, risked her life, and faced the storm. But for the first time she felt light. She had chosen the myth, and the myth had chosen her back. The ship drifted deeper into the asteroid shadows, free for now, but the war was only beginning. The asteroid field was silent again. Shattered rocks floated like broken teeth, and the human ship hid in their shadows. The hum of the engines softened until only the ship's heartbeat remained. For the first time since the chase began, Lyra allowed herself to breathe. They were alive. Against all odds, they had escaped. But peace did not last long. Every face on the human ship carried the same truth. They were still hunted. The galaxy had felt their return, and soon the drums of war would follow. Lyra sat at the edge of the command deck, her eyes on the stars outside. The leader stood near her, helmet tucked under his arm. The light of the console glowed against his scarred face. He looked at her not as an enemy, not even as a stranger, but as something else. You saved us, he said simply. Without you, we would be wreckage now. Lyra shook her head. No, without you, I would still be a girl chasing ghosts. You gave me proof. The older man chuckled softly, though his eyes were tired. Proof comes with weight. The galaxy will not forgive you for siding with us. She lowered her gaze. He was right. She had betrayed her station, her commanders, her own world. If they caught her, she would face trial, exile, or worse. But even so, she felt no regret. I chose truth, she whispered, even if I must carry it alone. The woman warrior, still sharp and guarded, leaned closer. And why should we trust you further? You risked everything tonight, yes, but what about tomorrow? What if fear changes you? Lyra lifted her head. Her voice trembled, but her eyes burned with fire. Because I have nothing left to lose. My people will never take me back. My only future is with you. The deck grew silent. The humans exchanged glances, shadows of doubt still in their eyes, but also something else. Hope. The leader finally spoke, his voice steady. Then you are one of us now. Not myth, not enemy, ally. Her chest tightened. Tears blurred her vision, but this time they were not of fear. They were of belonging. For the first time, she felt she had a place. The radar beeped faintly, reminding them all of the danger beyond. Long-range scans showed fleets mobilizing in the distance. Her people would not stop. They would send more ships, stronger ships, armies if needed. The older man muttered, This peace is short. We need allies, safe harbors, supplies. Alone we will not last, the leader nodded. Then we move in silence, like shadows. And we wait. His gaze shifted back to Lyra. You said the stories of us were forbidden, that your people erased our truth. Why? Her voice broke as she explained. The elders feared you. They feared your courage. They said humans inspired rebellion, that wherever you walked, others rose against tyranny. So they buried you under lies. They said you were gone forever. The humans listened in silence. Their faces hardened, not in anger at her, but at the chains placed upon their memory. The leader's voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of iron. Then let them fear again. Let them know humans still walk the stars. The words struck deep. Lyra shivered because she understood what he meant. This was not just survival anymore. This was the return of a legend. She stood, wiping her tears, and faced the stars with them. If they come for you, they come for me too. I will not run, the woman smirked faintly. Brave for a girl who was a radar trainee only hours ago. Lyra smiled through her fear. Brave because I found something worth believing in. The leader placed his helmet back on, sealing his face again. His final words carried across the deck like a promise. Then let it begin. The galaxy will remember tonight not as our end, but as the beginning of legends. The engines roared again, and the ship slipped deeper into the dark, vanishing among the stars. Behind them, the galaxy prepared its hunters. Ahead of them, the unknown stretched wide and endless. and at the center of it all stood Lyra, no longer just a girl staring at radar screens, but the first bridge between myth and reality. The myth was alive. The legend had returned, and history was about to be rewritten.